Hi everyone, this is In the Middle with Cass and Jamie.
Hey guys.
Hi. Well, today is January 7th, 2021, and yesterday in the capital of United States, Washington, D.C., was a very tragic, strange, and bizarre and horrible day.
An unnecessary day.
Totally unnecessary day. Now, yesterday, Donald Trump supporters have broken into the Capitol and tried to block the transfer of power. Now, on the 6th of January, normally what happens is the certification of the electoral college votes. And it's a very standard sort of, we even mentioned this in a couple of our shows. And we were thinking that it was going to be a very formal, normal formal thing. Well, not this time, and it turns out that it was a very strange day and very horrific day. You can see some pictures on your screens, and I think we can go through a little bit of history of what happened just for you to understand the magnitude of what happened, right? The masses of what happened yesterday. Now, I think the War of 1812.
Right, the War of 1812.
The Capitol was burned, right?
Yeah, that's the last time the Capitol was breached like this in any kind of way. And then during the British invasion of the War of 1812, the U.S. Capitol was burned, as well as the White House and other buildings in the Washington, D.C. area. Mm-hmm. Now, other than that, there's not been an attack like this on the U.S. Capitol since then, in over 200 years, obviously. We've had some other small domestic terrorist incidents and so forth with some Puerto Rican nationalists in the 50s. And
54,
then,
yeah.
Yep, and then in 1998, there were unfortunately 2 Capitol Hill police officers that were shot and killed during their line of duty, trying to protect and keeping an armed gunman from coming into the Capitol. But we've never, ever had a storming of the Capitol like we had yesterday. This is just a domestic terrorist act, which is it's not a riot. It's not even a riot. It wasn't a protest. It's not a riot. It is domestic terrorism, and it is a horrible situation.
Yeah,
a coup.
Yeah.
You know, some people are using the word coup. I can see what that was, a useful word, but especially since that they were kind of sent there by their leader, which is Donald Trump.
I think you said like domestic terrorism. This is just it always sounds so scary when you have that kind of force that's inside your country, right? It's
Right.
just
Insane. Much anger.
Now, me and you were talking all through yesterday, and
Right.
one question that I was constantly asking: how did this happen? How was this permitted to happen?
Right.
This is the most secure city in United States.
Right.
You know, video surveillance is everywhere, police everywhere. I mean, you told me there's about 5 different forces, right? On
Just police forces.
just police forces.
Not to mention the FBI and CIA on top of that.
So
too.
how was this possible to happen?
That's going to be one of the most interesting questions that I think that we're going to have to address in the next few weeks and coming months. Obviously, there was a failure of some sort, but I can tell you one thing: the police officers were doing their duty. They are there to always.
Yeah, we're not here to blame the police officers. No, but there's a bigger picture.
Yeah,
how did this happen?
Police officers are soldiers, if you will. They're going to be following command. And command, somewhere up at the line at the top, there was a command that came down for them to either stand down or not be prepared or not prepare properly, if you will. And that's, we're going to have to really look into that and see why they were not as prepared or they were not as alerted as they should have been on this. And there's several other questions that goes along with that too.
Well, listen, there was lots of chatter online. First of all, when you're about this gathering, right, which was supposed to be a peaceful protest by Donald Trump, because when we've known about this for a month. So this is nothing new. This is not, this happened, it's not like it happened out of nowhere. Suddenly everybody started getting together.
Right.
You can see on your screens as well, there was postings on social media pages in groups telling people where to be at what time, what to bring with them. So preparing them for a very serious
Confrontation.
Confrontation. You
battle.
know,
A
3
battle
liters of water. You know, make sure you don't bring your phones. Have radios like
Right.
walkie-talkies and things.
Right.
And just have to be on a completely different level. This is
Right.
not your standard. You know, let's get together and just
No, this is
protest
not, let's walk around with
and
signs
support
and
Trump.
and voice our opinion. No, these people were out for blood. These people were out for
Listen.
battle. They were look at the pictures. I mean, they're wearing armed vests and they're wearing military helmets. They're carrying weapons. They are armed for battle.
And
This is not a peaceful protest. This is not a protest. This is not a riot.
climbing
this is
walls,
an
breaking
attack.
doors, breaking windows,
destroying
forcing
property,
forcing
desecrating
forcing their way in through to the chambers.
Yeah.
I mean, sitting
going
down,
around and then taking pictures and selfies and so forth, sitting in people's
Sitting on
desks
desks and things.
going through their papers and so forth. Thank God, and really seriously, thank goodness for the staffers who had the wherewithal about themselves when all this was going on. They had to immediately evacuate. They had the wherewithal to grab the mahogany box cases that had the certified votes in them, and they walked out. Otherwise, these people could have burnt these things, and then really it had a negative impact on our electoral process. One of the most sacred, and I would argue not the top sacred acts in our country, which is our electoral process and our elections in our
Now,
democracy.
my question, and we said we're not, obviously we're not blaming anybody, but I am curious. Obviously, I don't understand how knowing about this, knowing that this could potentially be dangerous, that there was no more preparation. So why is it that, 4 hours later, New Jersey, Cuomo sends the National Guard.
Right.
Maryland sends a National Guard. Virginia sends National Guard.
DC National Guard.
Come on, like, where was this? Where was the preparation for this? Now, okay, I think that to a point, and that listen, maybe you're not expecting things, but shouldn't you be thinking that you are, knowing that those people are coming in with guns? They're not peaceful protesters.
I think there's a couple of things going on there. I want to stop this for a second because I think it's important for us to recognize that there are two things that could possibly have happened. Number one, we don't think that anything like that in our country is ever going to happen. We never have, we never will. We know that in 2001, when 9/11 happened, we knew that there was we had these terrorist attacks. We never ever expected that would happen in our country. That was never ever supposed to happen in America, but it did. And we walked around for years. I would say even to this day, with the emotional and psychological scars from those acts of terrorism. But it has changed us, and it has hardened us. It's a wake up to the world. I would say that this is a wake up to American public, that there are some evil forces out there that are trying to impede our democracy. They're trying to get their own way, and no matter what the cost, they are going. And no matter what you say, they're going to try to go in there and attack you. Now, the other number two, the second thing I wanted to say about what has happened, I think this is a reaction from all of the negative press and attacks that have been given on the police and the cutting of funds and defund the police and all the other stupid things that have been proposed and actually put in action by some of these dumb local governments. In New York City has been one of the worst of defunding the police. Listen, there's some bad eggs in the police. I get it. There's some bad eggs, and I never have been a big BLM guy. I never have really seen a lot of racism. But let me tell you something. If that had been a bunch of black people and protesters or Muslim protesters and so forth, they would have been mowed down. I don't care. I mean, I really do call something on this. So I think this is one of those. I don't want to get up and like protest like, oh, this was horrible, and how if it would have been black or Muslims. No. But I think it is a teachable moment. And I think that's something that we really do need to look at. But you also need to look at it from the police perspective because they didn't want to overreact because they got just lambasted for overreacting.
Overreact?
Back in the
Come
summer.
on, they're
Well, I don't think they've been
wait a minute. Overreact? The people are breaking in.
Well, no,
To a
but I don't think they knew it was
building.
going to happen. I think they honestly
They
didn't think it was
were
going to happen.
already there. They're breaking doors. They're pushing through.
But they weren't prepared. I mean,
This is
so,
insane.
listen,
How?
We can
I mean, to be honest, I was thinking about it, and I think I told you, honestly, I don't think this is ever possible. Well, I'll never say never, But I don't think if you know, look into Rome, I don't know, Paris, Berlin, Moscow, London, I don't think it's possible to happen. I just do not think that it would be possible to happen.
I think that in many ways that America still is in a little bit of our Pollyannish world, which is what got us into 9/11, why it was such a shock for us, because we just never did think that something like that would happen. That happened in other places. That didn't happen in the U.S. That didn't happen to us. And especially didn't happen by our own people doing something like this. And so for these quote unquote patriots, which is the last thing that they are, by the way, but these patriots that are out there, doing their right and so forth, right, going in here and destroying our sacred symbols and going in and attacking our Congress, going in and attacking our electoral process, our Constitution, that is a bunch of BS, and you know it. So don't come in here with your crap about these were patriots and so forth. Melania, Ivanka and some of the others, they posted some stuff about, oh, these are patriots, but they took them down like that because they knew that they were going to get their ass handed to them, because that was a bunch of BS. So it's time to stand up, and enough's enough. And I'm pissed off about it.
I actually, lots of commentary yesterday and all through the night from on many channels, TV channels, and everybody, like one is saying, there's no one here to blame but ourselves.
Yeah. And there's culpability to go around. This is not just, oh, Donald Trump did this to us.
Oh, I mean, look, there is.
No. We're all culpable in some kind of way.
It is though horrific to say that the President of the United States is making those people and encouraging them to this behavior, right?
What do you have to do to finally call him out and take him down out of office for his actions? What do you have to do? I mean, do you remember back when he was campaigning, he was saying, "Oh, I could walk down Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I would not get in trouble." Are you really going to be? Are we really going that way? I mean, our politicians, our elected officials, they represent us. They represent us, and so when they attacked those elected officials, they attacked us.
Well, you guys.
They attacked us. They attacked us. They attacked the American public, and so attack on them was the same as an attack on me. And so it is vital that we put an end to all of this, and to get to a point where we can all come to a conversation and talk. Because going back to your point, we've gotten to a point where we don't talk to each other. We don't have conversations with each other. That's one of the reasons why the BLM and the protests and the police protests and everything that was happening this summer that we saw with George Floyd and all these horrible things that we saw live on TV happening. The reason why is because you cannot have an honest conversation about things, and people have gotten into their own corners and they don't talk. You're not allowed to talk. And if you ask a question, if you even do the act of asking a question, well, you're sexist, you're racist, you're homophobic, so you're xenophobic, whatever. I call it the is and the icks. And it's a bunch of bullshit. You've got to start talking to each other. But the main way you start talking to each other is you shut up and you listen. And you shut up and start talking to each other in a civil way. The politicians have actually, this is where I put blame on a lot of the politicians, both on the left and the right, Democrats and Republicans. They have fanned the flames of this angst between us. We've got to get past that. We've got to get past their rhetoric and them. They're working us. We're being played. We are being played like a fiddle, and we're falling right into it. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that are still very upset about the election, and they think that there was there's falsified and so forth. Not a single court, not a single Republican judge, no one on the Supreme Court, not a single case has stood. Attorney General Barr resigned over it. I mean, he said there has been no cases in evidence of voter fraud. The President of the United States calling and pressuring the Secretary of State for Georgia, trying to find extra votes. Come on, what kind of banana republic are we?
He's never been supported. Everything in his office has been spilled one way or the other to someone. Right?
Oh, he doesn't blame. But nothing's his fault. I mean, it's like.
But how the hell did he think that was going to go and fly? you know, and again,
Because he's been allowed to get away with that. People, that's
you see,
that's where
this-
we're culpable. We are not calling people out and saying, no, we're not going there. That's not who we are. That's when a politician says something horrible about somebody with a disability, or says something about a woman, or says something has said something sexist, or been done sexist acts, and calling people out on their actions. I'm not saying that everybody, let's all call each other out on our own sins. But if you're going to be an elected official, if you're going to be, especially the president of the United States, you have to act and behave in a certain way. And, like them or not, I mean, we've never, ever had a single president, Democrat or Republican, to act like this. And so it is our responsibility as Americans that we have allowed this to happen. Also, I would blame the media for their actions in this, because they're just as culpable. They have been participating in this. They've been making money on this. They are part of the problem. Social media is part of the problem. They have been making money on our angst and our fight between each other, both in politics and race.
See, this is another question that I have. So you have Facebook and Instagram that are being controlled, right? So you're not supposed to put false information,
Right.
or you're not supposed to put,
Yeah.
anything violent or whatever.
Good point.
How did those
Where was their filters?
filters,
Yeah.
when people were told to gather their guns and get together?
Didn't
So-
we have hearings on the Hill about this for days?
And then yet this was possible to happen. Question how? Now, where are we going with this? What are we doing, and where we're going to end with this? Where is this going for us, and what will this be in the future? Now, from what I'm seeing right now in DC, the people are still here. They haven't left. A lot of the people are still continuously being in DC and going out in the streets. Now, the people are going to be not happy still for a very long time.
Right.
Now, the question is that Donald Trump is going to be in power for another 2 weeks,
Right.
13 days. And honestly, do you have this quote from this morning? Which
Yeah.
he said, and I think this is really clearly showing, what he is up to and what he wants. Now, again, it's interesting how Facebook and Instagram and Twitter blocked his account. They did block his account yesterday for 12 hours. Now they've blocked him for another 2 weeks. And this is incredible, because this is a guy who has power
Right.
to nuclear weapons.
The nuclear codes.
The nuclear codes.
And he can't even be trusted with a Twitter
but he
account.
can't be trusted with a Twitter account.
Really? Wow.
And with Instagram or Facebook account, that's just ridiculous in my senses and my understanding in my head. It just doesn't quite come together. But his quote just shows, and you guys can see. But Jamie, can you read it to us?
I'll read it to you. It should be up on the screen now. But even though I totally disagree with the outcome of the election, still in disavowing the truth of the facts, and the facts bear me out. No, they don't. Nevertheless, there will still be an orderly transition on January 20th. That's your job. That's what you're supposed to be doing. But thank you very much. Finally, he continues. I have always said we would continue our fight, and again, to ensure that only legal votes were counted. Only legal votes were counted, dude. Nobody else was no other votes were counted. This has been certified over and over. That's been recounted. It's done. Forget it. It continues. While this represents the end of the greatest first term in presidential history. Ha! Are you freaking kidding me? Come on. I mean, maybe the worst one in history. I mean, I cannot believe. I mean, you're delusional, man. It's only the beginning of our fight to make America great again. Only the beginning of our fight. So what you see is he doesn't give a damn about this country. He doesn't give a damn about these people that are out there that are now going to face criminal charges. Because these people are coming after you. Don't think that you've left town and so forth. They're going to find you. They're going to find you.
And the worst of it is that the end of the day, what had to happen yesterday happened. The certification went through and it's done.
Yeah.
We now have formalized everything that needed to happen. We now have the fully confirmed president-elect and not prime minister, vice president elect, and we're waiting for the inauguration. But obviously, there will have to be an investigation, I'm sure,
will
into
be.
why and what happened. And you know, this is definitely for the history books, and we're gonna have to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
But
So
we have to learn the lessons here. We have to learn the lessons here. And if we really want to, where do we go from here? We go into learning the lessons, changing our electoral process, and not getting rid of electoral college, but I would say even doing a constitutional amendment, if you will, to federalize make a uniform system for our federal elections. That is for the president, vice president, senators, and Congress. Those would be done the same across the country in the same manner. Whatever they do with state and local elections is up to the individual states. But I would suggest that they would try to address that and to
maybe
get some
all
kind
of
of
those time gaps between, you know, the elections, then, you know, the 14th of December, then the 6th of January and the 20th, maybe cut that down a little bit, because there's no longer need for riding from one state to the other on horses and carriages.
A lot of countries, they have these periods where it has to go dark. The campaigns have to go quiet. It's right before the election, and so they have to go quiet. And as the people make their decision based on the campaigns that have gone on prior in the weeks prior to the election, not up to the day of the election like we do it here in the U.S. But no matter what, and I know yesterday was one of the most horrible days in American history, and the most horrible day I've ever seen in U.S. history. From a domestic situation other than 9/11, but that was a terrorist act, international terrorist act on our soil, and this was by our own people. Was this? It was a horrible day, but it was also a glorious day. And you know why it was a glorious day? Because America is still standing. We are still here. We may weave, we may stumble and all, and we are not perfect. But you know what? America stands, and that's what counts. We win, you lose. America first. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys, and it's been an interesting show and an interesting discussion. We will see you next week. Next week we'll be talking about cancel culture in more depth.
Right.
And don't think that we forgot that today is Russian Christmas, or Russian Orthodox Christmas. We will tell you more about that too, we promise. But obviously with events happening, we couldn't miss this. So see you guys, and thanks for being with us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.